Welcome back. Cattle producers are always concerned about what's on the horizon in Washington, D.C. that could impact their operation back home. Joining me now to discuss some of the key issues for 2017 is Colin Woodall, Senior Vice President of Government Affairs. Colin, what does this new President Trump administration mean to the beef cattle industry?
Well, it means that we're going to have an opportunity, I believe, to roll back a lot of the overburdensome regulations that we have dealt with for many administrations now. That gives us a lot of optimism, because when you look at everything we've been through with the cattle markets, one thing that we know is hanging over every cattle producer's head is, what do I have to do to comply with government regulations? If we can remove that burden, we are going to make a lot of progress as an industry. So we're excited about the prospect that the new administration brings in taking care of it.
That's really hopeful. Now, I know you've grown your staff in Washington, D.C., and I'm curious to know, what are you doing to build relationships with the new Congress and specifically the Trump administration?
There's a lot of new faces in Washington, D.C. As you said, it's not just the Trump team, but it's also several new senators and also a lot of new House members. That means that we have a lot of staff members that we have to meet, greet, and build a relationship with, because in Washington, D.C., it's nothing more than just a relationship business. We have to know who to talk to in order to make sure that the policy priorities of our members can be executed upon. So we are fanning out across Washington right now, meeting the Trump team, meeting all of his new faces, but more importantly, working very closely with the House and Senate to try to get a quick confirmation for all of his cabinet appointments, because until those people are in their seats, it's going to be hard to really execute his administration, his agenda, and for us to be able to get some things done as well.
And speaking of his agenda, certainly one of the things that's top of mind for all cattle producers is this trade issue. We've heard his rhetoric on NAFTA and TPP, and it has some of us pretty concerned. What's ahead in 2017 as it relates to trade?
It does have us concerned, because when you look at our access into Japan, for example, the Australians, they have a 12% tariff advantage on us. Basically, it means that they have a 12% tax advantage, so their product is cheaper. Because of that, our industry is losing $400,000 a day. And the only vehicle available to fix that was TPP. TPP is now done with. We know that with the executive order that he signed. So our message to the president is, you've made your decision. Let's try to figure out what the next vehicle is, because we cannot continue to sustain these losses. We have to keep in mind that the Australian tariff will go down again in Australia, so those $400,000 a day losses will only increase. We cannot sustain that throughout 2017. We need quick action on the next step to get our access into Japan.
Another topic I heard a lot of discussion about at convention was this whole labor issue, especially as it relates to packers and lots of folks in agriculture who depend on foreign labor, if you will, or immigrant labor. What's your sense of what we'll see on that, and how will that impact the industry?
You bet. When we talk to our members throughout the entire supply chain, that is top of mind, especially with the packing and processing segment. And it's an issue today. Now, when you look at everything that the president is proposing in regards to our relationship with Mexico, we know it's going to be even more of an issue. He is focused on border security, and we support that, because when you look at our members on the southwestern border of the United States, there are a lot of horror stories that we hear every day about what they have to deal with. But at the same time, our industry relies upon a lot of immigrant labor. And it's not just at the packing and processing plant, it's at feedlots, it's on farms and ranches. So we need to make sure that concurrent with the effort to secure the border, we talk about an ag labor jobs bill in order to make sure that we have a legal workforce to be able to stay in business.
Now, on a positive front, we spent a lot of time on this show for several years talking about the death tax, and it does look like there's some hopefulness in getting that death tax repealed. Your thoughts?
For the first time in over a decade, we're going to have the opportunity to try to repeal the death tax, with a Republican in the White House who has made the death tax a top issue, and with a Congress controlled by Republicans. This is the best chance that we've had, and we have a lot of motivation from the House and Senate to make that happen. They understand that the death tax is still one of the big burdens and challenges to passing down multi-generational ranches to the next generation. So if we can remove that burden, once again, much like all the regulatory relief, it will go a long way in helping our members. So we're optimistic that this is a good opportunity.
You mentioned regulatory relief. What's on the agenda there for 2017?
Well, we're really excited about an executive order he just signed. We're calling it the 2-for-1 rule. That means that any federal agency that wants to move forward with a rule or regulation will have to rescind 2 existing rules or regulations to do so. that is a great approach to making sure that they are not only looking at how these rules and regulations impact the industries that they are addressing, but also keep in mind all the budgetary concerns. We think we're going to be able to use that to address many things, such as the GIPSA rule, for example, the organic rule, and several others that we're working on. So we're excited that by the time we get into our spring legislative conference, we will already have a lot of regulatory rollback that we can celebrate.
Absolutely. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you again. I'm sure there will be a lot more to talk about in the 4 years ahead.
Thank you, Kevin.